Hi there. I want to talk to you today about the difference between hiring a specialist, white label, AdWords agency provider, compared to taking somebody off a freelancer website such as Fiverr or Freelancer or Upwork or any of those individual little platforms. So let's talk about the differences. Let's start with recruitment, because clearly the first step in any engagement is to find a partner to work with. Now, if you're looking at a white label service provider, that's a really easy thing to do. You can go to their website, you can look at the information they provide, you can get price lists, you can have a conversation with them and work through their process to see if it feels like a good fit. It's an organic process that you can heavily influence. If we compare that to recruiting through a platform such as Fiverr, you're very much constrained with the platform itself, the interface, the choices that it gives you, and the limited amount of information that provides. Now, you can, of course, dive into a conversation with any individual provider on those platforms, but need to be careful, because if you start drilling down into the detail and you want to take a conversation further, you want to take it outside of the platform so you can have a real conversation with somebody, bear in mind that's usually against the terms of service of the platform. So you need to be careful, but get that balance right between getting enough information to make a good decision, but without actually breaking the terms of the service of the platform that you're using. So recruitment is a difficult thing to do. You're very much relying on reviews if you stick with the platform. Now, once you've found a provider, you need to then think about what happens as your business grows, because you want to clearly grow your business and scale. I know very few agency owners who are quite happy doing one or two clients and want to stay there. Everybody wants to win their next client and grow. And that's where things get interesting. A white label agency is built to scale. It's built to have standard process. It's built to have resilience built in and redundancy, so that if a member of staff is absent, there is cover. If a process has an issue, there is an alternative. There is always scale and scope to grow. Now, if we look at the way that it works with a freelance site, if you're working with an individual, if they're sick, you may not have any cover. If they take a vacation or are absent due to a family issue, or as we've often seen in some parts of the world, things like weather outages, depending where you're recruiting, they can have internet outages, and you could lose all contact with your freelancer for days at a time, and that can be really hard for your business. So those resilience features that you'd expect with an agency partner quite often are missing when it comes to working one-to-one with an individual freelancer. What you'll also find is an individual freelancer can get busy. They will have peaks and troughs in their workload. And when they're busy, they might not be able to give you the time and attention that you need. That should never happen with a white label agency provider, because they've built that into their process, they've built that into their business model. Whereas a freelancer, that's not quite the same. What you'll also find, and one of the big areas of issue that I see, is process. Because each freelancer likes to work slightly different. They have their own methods, their own approaches, their own standards. And when they do things differently, the results that your business can get can differ, and we'll talk more about results in a moment. But from you as a manager, managing those freelance relationships, you'll find that you may have several different styles of relationship, several different processes to manage working with each individual. And as you grow your business, that gets increasingly burdensome on you as the owner and the manager, and increasingly frustrating and increasingly difficult to scale with consistency and with confidence. Let's talk about results. If you hire a freelancer, then what you're hiring is basically a very small set of experience. Your experience is one person, what they know, what they've personally been involved in. It may be a good fit to your business as it stands today, but if you win a new client, it's slightly different in some way. They may just not have the experience of doing that. So you're starting from zero. You're starting from a brand new campaign with no knowledge. Now, if we look at a white label agency, due to scale, they should have had experience in far wider set of industries than any one individual can ever do. It just stands to reason that if an individual's working on 30 or 40 campaigns versus an organisation working on several hundred, their breadth of experience will be different. As a result of that, when you're looking at what your freelancer is delivering, you can only ever get their one perspective, what they consider a good result, based on their level of experience, their level of knowledge. But you could have two freelancers in the same market with very different expectations because they've got different backgrounds. If you compare that to a white label agency, what should happen there is that different campaigns for different clients, that data gets gathered up and centralized. So as an organization, you get a bigger, broader view of what good looks like so that you can take the best and apply it to all. That works really well at a white label level. It doesn't work so well at an individual freelancer level. So what you'll find at the individual freelancer level is that your results from individuals will be far more variable. You'll have better potential in some cases, you'll have worse in some cases. You need to find the way of somehow crossing the bridge to get that information shared so that they can try and work together. And often freelancers don't want to share their knowledge because it's considered their intellectual property. Getting them to work as a coherent team can be really difficult. What you'll also find as well is when it comes to that result delivery, they will have different service levels, different expectations of communication speed, response time to implement. And that can cause you a problem with your clients. If a freelancer believes it's 48 hours is okay, 48 hours is okay to them. To an agency and a white label provider, there'll be a standard that you can expect consistently every time. Now let's talk about communication in your working relationship. We've already commented on the point that you will have different styles of communication. Bear in mind again, you will often be held by the constraints of the platform. So look for a freelancing platform where you've got communication enabled, where you can have conversations and discussions. That will need to happen for it to be effective. You'll need to make sure that you're dealing with somebody in a time zone that works for you. And there is often a trade-off. If you want, say you're in the US for example, and you want a freelancer, say from Fiverr or Freelancer or wherever, then you will find that usually the freelancers in the US are far more expensive than the freelancers overseas. But that's where it comes a trade-off, because overseas it's cheaper, but you'll probably have second language English, not native, and you'll find they're on a different time zone. So you make a saving on one hand, but your business operational and your communications times and all those kind of things get much more difficult. So you've got to find that balance that's right for you as an organisation. With a white label partner, you should never have that as an issue, because there'll be multiple methods during normal business hours, wherever you may be, to have that great conversation and get that done much more simply and much faster. And the final thing just to talk about is other support. You can always rely on a white label agency to do extra things, have extra services like tools, the software that you'll need. You can expect them to provide that. You can expect them to provide sales support. You can expect them to have things like case studies on landing pages and things they've built up over time that they know work. You can't get the same guarantee with a freelancer. They may provide their own tools, they may not. You may be responsible for providing your call tracking platform, your reporting platform. So you need to build into your cost calculations the fact that rather than having everything done for you, there are additional expenses that you will need to incur and that you need to provide licenses and access to other people for that you wouldn't need if you were doing it through a white label agency. There's no right or wrong. No one size fits all. It depends on you, your needs, your stage of development of your business. But think about it from a holistic, rounded perspective, and you'll see the differences between the two. Bye for now.